to Chat and Chai with moi, your host, Karishma Bazday. This is the space where we aim to empower and inspire women through other women's stories. So if that sounds like your vibe, then girl, you found your tribe. So grab your cup of chai, get comfy, and get ready to be inspired. My guest today forms an integral part of my personal tribe. She is the most knowledgeable person I know when it comes to pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and women's hormones. She has helped me tremendously on my journey, and I cannot wait to sit in conversation with her today and share her magic with all of you. So without further ado, I introduce you to Kheryne Danu. And welcome to Chat and Chai. I can't believe this is happening and you are sitting here with me. I think out of everyone, you are the person that I've spoken to most about birthing this baby and bringing it into this world. So thank you for all your guidance and all your patience always with me and my 1,000,001 voice notes back and forth. Yeah.
It's an honor. It's an absolute honor, and I'm so excited to be here and part of your beautiful new baby.
Okay, so I want to get right into it. Tell me, how did you get into the space of working with women the way that you do? Because you do like 1,000,000 different things, but very much centered around women and empowering them in many different ways. And I love that, and you've helped me on my journey in 1,000,000 different ways. So let's get into the story of how this journey began for you.
I think the beginning of the journey was actually when I was 14, getting thrown off a horse and hurting my back. I was all geared up to study architecture and get into the design world. And then I had to figure out how to heal my own body. So that took me on a really interesting path away from mainstream medicine. It wasn't helping at all. And then I found kinesiologists and craniosacral practitioners and all the very interesting people out there that were able to help. So then my passion became ignited. I was like, I want to be able to help people in this way.
All right.
But at 21, I was at my friend's birth. So that was radical. That was one of those moments in life where you sit there and understand what the essence of life is about. And I thought every woman got to be at birth. I thought that's what we did for each other. You know, we held space for each other while we birthed. By the time I was 24, I'd been at 3 births.
How did that come about though? Because we don't. This is not normal.
This is not normal.
It's not normal. So how did that become your norm?
This is a very good question. The main thing was that I was a belly dancer. And in my dance school, the dance teacher was very passionate about women's empowerment and pregnancy and birth. And belly dancing was originally preparation for childbirth. Wow. That's part of its essence. So she was very clear to pass on this message to us and focus on feminine empowerment, not just learning cool dance moves.
Right.
I was 19 when I started dancing there. So I was part of this little tribe that I didn't realize was so different to the rest of the feminine world. And it just felt normal. So a lot of things that early on came to me as normal around women's health and well-being were actually the minority. And then I became passionate about sharing these very simple but profound empowering tools with the masses.
And then when did you realize that it was not
normal?
Right.
Much later, actually. Probably in my late 20s, early 30s. I was like, I started meeting women that were now in their 40s and 50s. And I said, well, you know, when you're at a birth and blah, blah. And they're like, I've never been at a birth. What are you talking about? I'm like, but yeah.
Okay.
So I was very innocent in this little bubble. And yeah, it was it was so magical to then step out and look at my bubble from the outside and go, oh, this isn't the norm, but my reference was in history, women have always done this.
Right.
So then I wanted to sort of normalize it again. Like, why is it not normal anymore?
Exactly.
It should be.
It should be normal, right?
Yeah, moms should be supporting each other postpartum and with the kids and not just moms, the whole community. Where's the village gone?
But your work kind of in the birth space came a bit later, because first you kind of focused on a lot of the body work, craniosacral therapy, and hormones.
Yes.
So I speak a lot on my social media about you helping me with body work, and people are like, what is this body work? Like, do you go for a massage? And I'm like, not really, but kind of. Like, you know, I don't have the terminology to explain it. So let's dissect that a bit.
Okay.
Just for all my followers out there will finally have an understanding of what I say when I do a lot of body work.
Yeah. So with my back injury, I initially went to specialists who told me they were going to do surgery on my back, and I said no thank you. So then I went to physiotherapists, that didn't help. Then I went to chiropractors, that didn't help. So I had to keep looking because I knew I couldn't live the rest of my life in chronic pain.
Right.
And I found kinesiology, which helped a little bit, and craniosacral helped a lot. And then I realized there's a lot of different modalities within the alternative bodywork world. So you've got dawn therapy, you've got shiatsu, you've got normal massage, but it's actually really huge. There's a massive spectrum. And the ones that really worked for me were, there's a technique in this country called body stress release, and I ended up studying something, sort of the original version of that, directed pressure point technique. And it was originally called non-force chiropractics.
Okay.
It came out of America, and it was a chiropractor who developed it to try and find something that wasn't about pushing bones into place. It was about releasing the holding patterns in the muscles that pulled the bones out of place.
Makes so much sense.
So that's why it's gentle, and that's why it's deeply effective, because it does work.
Right.
Worked for me, works for you, works for many people.
Right.
But it's a huge field. And then I found osteopathy, which in South Africa is not normal, but in Europe and other places is very common.
Right.
And again, that's gone back to a more gentle way of working, where chiropractics and osteopathy for a while were very focused on forcing the body into certain places. So yeah, it's a huge field.
What I found is that a lot of people love going to a chiropractor, and it doesn't work for me, because I believe with the other practices that we're talking about, it kind of gets to the core of the problem. Because if you haven't released those muscles and all those kind of nerves and stuff, it's just going to keep pulling your bones out in the same way.
Totally.
Right? So you can crack them back as much as you want, but you're not kind of getting to the root of the problem.
It's
right?
a quick fix. It's like going to the pharmacy and taking a pill.
Exactly.
Just, covering the symptoms up.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying chiropractics is not good. Nowadays there's quite a broad genre, the same as osteopathy. There's a lot of different modalities within chiropractics.
Right.
But yeah, those kind of old ideas of let's just pop the bones back, no matter which modality you're looking at, is not dealing with the underlying problem. And also when you are touching those spaces of unraveling patterns, it doesn't have to be forced.
Right.
The body is willing and waiting. You can use very gentle techniques.
Right.
And that's something that's a bit of a mind shift for us. We think we have to put a lot of effort into making changes.
Because we're so used to going hard and fast.
Exactly.
Right? In this day and age, it's like instant gratification, hard and fast, let's go.
Yeah.
And we've kind of forgotten kind of almost, I want to say, the ancient ways,
Yeah.
you know, of slowing down and taking the time to cure the root of the problem.
Yeah. Like the French form of osteopathy is still, it's quite broad, but the essence of it is still based in the original teachings that are over 200 years old, and apparently that came out of the Native American Indians' way of doing healing on the body.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
We are taking a quick break to talk about today's sponsor, Kiko Vitals. Kiko Vitals is created by an incredible, heart-centered, intuitive boss babe, Kheryne Danu. Their mission is to help all women balance their hormones and heal their gut so that they can live a deeply nourished and intuitive life. Now, I have to say, I have been taking Kiko Vitals for quite a few months now, and they have been making such a huge difference. I love all of their products, but I think especially their pre and probiotic is such a standout product for me because it's not often that you get prebiotic mixed into your probiotic, and it is so essential for helping your microbiome function properly, which is so integral to our entire well-being. And then the next game changer for me has to be their debloat and gut glow. Ladies, this one is beyond incredible. If you suffer from bloating, gas, if you just feel really uncomfortable, this is the product that you need. It works instantly. It makes such a huge difference, and I will honestly never be without this product. And then their hormone balance is such a great mix of incredible natural products to help balance your hormones. And I have to be honest, I've only been taking this regularly quite recently because I've been experiencing some intense PMS, and it has already made such a huge difference. So thank you to Kiko Vitals for sponsoring this episode. And ladies, get your hands on all three of these products as soon as you can.
And then, okay, so that's kind of the body work. And then how did the hormone work come about?
Again, my body.
Thank you, body.
Thank you, body. So early 20s, dealing with a period that would come maybe every 6 weeks or every 3 months, if it felt like it. Yeah. Having radical PMS, which is called PMDD. So that's premenstrual dysphoric disorder, where you go a little cray-cray, like you go into states of deep anger and reactivity. So it was a bit scary. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me?
Right.
Insomnia, adrenal fatigue. It hit me hard and fast early. So I didn't have a choice but to sort my shit out, so to speak. But it took me till I was 26 to discover that my problems were hormonal.
Wow.
So I missioned around for 5 years dealing with all of these really impairing issues and trying to keep some kind of normal life together.
And what was the thing that made you realize that it was hormonal?
I walked into a health shop and this very sweet old guy looked at me and he said, "Come with me." And he sat me in this shoebox office and shone a torch in my eyes and he said, "Your adrenals are shot." And I mean, I'd been studying kinesiology from 21. Nobody had ever mentioned the word adrenals or hormones or anything. And I was like, huh? And he said, "No, you've got adrenal fatigue. You need adaptogens." I'm like, what the hell are adaptogens?
Exactly.
You were so sweet. So like 2 minutes, here, take these, off you go. And it was such a game changer. I started sleeping properly. My energy levels started stabilizing during the day. And then I started researching adrenals. I didn't know the rest of I didn't know there was a link between our reproductive cycle and our adrenals and our sleep. But I started slowly working that out. But the next part of the story was I was trying to set up a healing center in Hout Bay for this lady. And I stopped sleeping. I was sleeping 3 hours a night for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Nothing I did helped the sleep because I was so stressed, put so much pressure on myself about creating this perfect space. And my friend's mother arrived one day, who happens to own the first organic natural progesterone company in the world. And she stood there and she looked at me and she goes, "Sweetheart, you're going to come stay with me for a while."
Wow.
I mean, it was like a fairy godmother moment. She literally swept me up, helped me pack my bags.
Wow.
The healing center was basically falling away. And she's like, "No, you're going to come and stay with me." And she gave me the most amazing organic food, loads of high dose vitamin Bs and magnesium and amino acids, and got me sleeping the first night that I was there, and gave me lots of natural progesterone. And I was like, this is so nice.
This is amazing.
I feel normal.
Right.
Like, wow. Like, absolutely, within 3 days, I felt like a completely different human being.
That's so interesting, because I remember when I first met you, and we did a lady, an actress that I was in a production with, referred me to you, and I came to see you, and for bodywork, really, because my body was destroyed, and slowly you started working together, and you very subtly, you could see the signs, I think, immediately when I walked in. So you very subtly tried to say, have you thought about this, or taking this, or doing that? And like you, I had no idea about all of these things, and these natural remedies and adaptogens and all of these wonderful things existed. And I can't even remember now what you gave me to take, but like I woke up that morning like in tears, because it was the first time in my life I could remember firstly having a decent sleep, but also waking up with no pain in my whole life. Like, that's radical.
That's radical.
To like actually not know or not remember what your body feels like.
Yes.
Being pain-free.
And you were young. You were in your
I was 23.
20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be in that amount of pain and dealing with all of those issues so young.
It's radical.
It's
and just
radical.
thinking that that's the norm, that's life. And yes, I'm an actress and I do physical theater, and sure, my body,
Yeah, you
takes
were
a few
throwing
months.
yourself around stage at the time.
But I was in radical pain, not just like, you've gone to the gym and you've got like muscles. I was in severe pain, and
You had chronic inflammation.
Just to know what my body felt like without that was just mind-blowing to me. So it was such a similar experience to be like, wow, this is what life can be like.
Yeah.
And then our journey started in many different...
We covered all the bases.
Exactly. And we're going to touch on that now, because I want to know, you helped me cure my PCOS naturally, which was a game changer again in my life. Like, I didn't know that this was all related, like the adrenal fatigue and all of this was related.
I remember you saying, and I've got PCOS and I'm like, you do realize that you can change that?
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Because no gynae had ever told me, that I could change it. It was like, take the pill and get on with life,
yes.
And that kind of thing. But why do you think we are in this epidemic, if I can put it that way, of women struggling so much with their hormones?
Whew. How long do we have?
As long as we need.
Well, in a nutshell, the last 100 years has been quite an experiment on the planet. So one of the big factors, we'll just get the big depressing one out the way, is very much environmental chemicals.
Right.
We have over 80,000 environmental chemicals in our day-to-day lives, in our non-organic makeup, in our body products, in our cleaning products, breathing it in the air, chlorine swimming pools. The list just goes on. So what we discovered quite a few decades ago is that a lot of these chemicals mimic one of the hormones in our body called estrogen, but between 100 and 1,000 times stronger than natural estrogens.
Sure.
So the impact on women and on men, hormones need to stay in balance there. It's a subtle dance that's happening throughout each month. And our steroid hormones aren't just about making babies. They're not just about our reproductive system. They're steroid hormones because they work on our brain and our nervous system and our energy levels, our blood pressure, our blood sugar. They're working on every part of our body. So they're essentially the foundation. They're the messengers that tell all the other big systems and organs in the body what to do.
Right.
So you start messing with that, you're messing with your whole health.
System, right.
Right. Which is why with PCOS, you're then vulnerable to cardiovascular disease, to diabetes, to osteoporosis, boom, 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 boom.
Right.
If it's not dealt with and reversed, which again is not common knowledge. So environmental chemicals are a bit of a problem, but there's a lot we can do about it. We can be very conscious of the products that we work with and filtering our water, and we have tools nowadays.
Right.
And farmers are getting more focused on growing organic food instead of chemical-ridden food, etc., etc.
But it is this awareness that needs to be created, because so many women walk naively through this world.
Yeah. We trust that everything on the shelves is healthy. Yeah.
I mean, we don't know better, but it was like, and it's no one's fault, I suppose, but it's like me coming to you and not knowing that there were other options.
Exactly.
And other ways, of doing things. And I think that is my big passion with this podcast, is to give women the opportunity to know that there are options, there are different ways of doing things, because then only can we begin our own healing, right, when we know all of these things. And I think the other big thing that comes into play is that we think we're fine.
Yes.
And
often you only experience the impact of the long-term imbalance of hormones from like 35 onwards, especially if you've been on the contraceptive pill.
Right.
You don't feel what's happening underneath. And then you start getting the big symptoms start coming to the surface.
Or also, it's like we're so good at ignoring the small symptoms.
We're told to.
We're told to, and we're told to have a quick fix to kind of mask it
and get on with things.
And then we're fine.
Yeah.
And on we go.
Yeah.
And we don't realize exactly what damage, we're causing underneath.
And like for me and for you, we often don't realize that our symptoms are hormone related. Exactly. So we don't know how to look for that, and a normal GP is not going to be doing the tests or indicating.
The simple thing with acne.
Yes.
It's like.
Good example.
Take Reaccutane.
Yeah.
Or,
which is a steroid, by the way.
Exactly. Or change your skincare. Or like, it's like, why is my body choosing to react like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It boggles the mind now, knowing as much as I do.
Yes.
It's like why we don't think about those things.
So this is the thing. We literally have to step back and go, okay, something's going on with me. The way that I'm doing things now is not working for me. Mm-hmm. So what is available, and who do I ask, and what changes do I make? I mean, it's often the first question is, who the hell do I ask?
Exactly.
And back to all of the possible factors around hormone imbalances, the structure of relationships like nuclear families and the structure of work, these environments are not how we used to live. And women thrive in villages, and we thrive listening to our natural body rhythms.
Right.
But when we're having to put out the same amount of energy all day, every day, whether we've got our period or not, we're experiencing a lot of stressful factors that we're not even aware are impacting us, because we've been told this is how it is.
Right.
But it's very recent. It's only in the last 100 years.
Wow.
When we backtrack further, I mean, the fact that women have babies and go back to work after 3 months that's only been around since the 50s or maybe even 60s.
Fucking radical. It really is.
And this is where feminism really bit us in the butt, because it started off as this movement to try and empower women to be equal to men, but in a patriarchal structured society, without realizing that if we do that, then we're going to function like men.
And we're going to lose the essence of being women.
And we're going to get incredibly exhausted.
Exactly, because we are not made to function.
We don't function that way. So when women actually follow the innate parts of themselves that allow us to have high energy, high productivity, etc., and rest when we need to rest, so that we can refuel and do beautiful work, we have this expansive and contractive energy each month. And if we're not listening to that, we're slowly eating away at our deep reserves. Exactly. And then we get the adrenal fatigue, and then we get the reproductive disorders and the infertility and the weight gain and the insomnia.
And I think the thing is that we also feel very much stuck in this the patriarchy right now.
Yes.
It's like if you're working in a corporate environment or whatever. But my thing is that I really think you don't have to be radical in your approach to it. You just have to be mindful.
Absolutely. It's not about going, oh my gosh, that's
Or-
so
or
bad, we
I'm on
need
my
to break
period
the whole thing
and
down.
now we need like 5 days of, period leave or whatever, which is great. I know some countries are doing that and that's amazing. But if that's not accessible to you, it can be as simple as, well, for me at least, is structuring your life and your schedule accordingly, you know?
So there we look at stress, and we look at how from a young age we've been programmed to have a survival response to a deadline.
Right.
Nobody's going to die if you don't get it in on that particular day, but this is how we're programmed from children.
Right.
So those radically physical responses to very simple things literally burn us up. So yes, we can work at a 9-to-5 job and we can thrive in that 9-to-5 job if we start looking at our nervous system and how we're wired, and do the best you can. Nothing more, nothing less. Nobody's going to die.
Exactly, and I mean,
And then if you take care of yourself and you start being able to build your energy resources, you can continue to be really productive. Otherwise, you're going to just slowly burn out.
This is the thing. It's, motherhood has taught me that it's about longevity. This is a marathon.
This is a marathon.
It's not a sprint. And, even with things like, I'm blessed in a lot of ways in my industry where a lot of my time is my time.
Yes.
But when I book a job, it's really not my time. It's like I'm completely a slave in essence to this production.
Yes.
And sometimes that is, when I have my period. And back in the day, I would not even think twice about it. I'd be like, work as hard, give as much, be the best, do whatever.
Yeah, you were full on.
Yeah, and now my approach to going to sit when I have my period, it's like I still have to do the work and I still have to put my best foot forward. But when I rest, I don't, not being a part of loud conversations, I'm just very mindful of my time and my energy.
Yeah.
And that's something that
It's
I
precious.
was never conscious of.
Yeah.
Before. And even that subtle shift, like I know I can't be at home in my bed right now and I know I've got to give my best to this, but just the subtle shift of how I manage my own energy and my emotions throughout the day on set has made a huge difference.
Yeah, when you're sitting, not shooting, use that time to actually just come back to your body, come back to a place of peace in yourself. But if you're sitting there going, okay, so next we got to be, and the mind gets fixated on projecting into the future and worrying about past references, we're burning up our resources all the time.
And I nourish myself like so much. I mean, you're going to kill me, but like I used to be on set like for 18 hours living off caffeine.
I know you did.
And nothing else. I mean, it's like radical, and now it is my priority. Especially when I'm on my period or getting close, it's like, and give me all the food because it's, I don't care if I have a little boop or like whatever. It's like I need to nourish myself, so that I can do the work that I'm here to do.
We only have one body. That's it.
And my thing is I see all the young girls making the same mistakes that I made and I'm like, no, please, don't do this to yourself,
Yeah.
And
I see a workshop developing there.
I know. And I subtly try and shift the narrative by sharing some of my own experience or whatever. But, there's not much you can do in a few hours or a day for someone. And
do you know what? Sometimes it just takes one sentence.
That's true.
Sometimes it doesn't. It's,
we're
just planting that little seed and people go, oh, maybe there's another way to do this.
Yeah, well, I don't want to feel hungry all the time,
I don't want to be shaking and be wired to the max all the time.
Exactly. Okay, so now let's talk about your somatic work, which is something that you have stepped into recently. And I know it's been incredibly life-changing for you. Yeah.
So 18 months ago, my nervous system literally collapsed with something called dysautonomia. There's apparently 70 million people worldwide dealing with it, but it's often undiagnosed. Wow. And what it means is there's either a huge stress on the vagus nerve that creates, the vagus nerve regulates our autonomic nervous system.
Right.
Okay, so that means our ability to breathe, our ability to digest food, all the automatic things that happen in our body. Or the vagus nerve gets pushed to the point where it's actually damaged. Okay. So this can happen from stress, this can happen from viruses, from environmental factors, all sorts of different things. Right. And I literally found myself on the floor, alone in the house with my 3-year-old, and went, what on earth is happening? It was a very terrifying moment. I had extreme vertigo, no physical energy in my body. I was crawling, extreme nausea and hunger at the same time, and diarrhea and breath dysregulation. So I was breathing, but I couldn't regulate my breath, and panic attacks flying through my brain. Sure. So it was the most terrifying moment of my life, and it's a long healing journey. You need a lot of support to be able to, and there's different kinds of dysautonomia. It's a spectrum, it's a syndrome, so it's a lot of different possible things. But I knew that I had to learn about the nervous system to heal myself. Right. So I studied somatic embodiment, and basically when you start learning how those imprints as a child, whether it's from your parents or whether from school or other children, whatever environment you grow up with, it's very common to learn these survival mechanisms from a young age in the way that our life is structured right now. Right. And when we go to that default place in ourselves, we're not able to feel a calm, clear truth. We can't access discernment. We're responding from a panic space. Right. So if we're constantly moving through life reacting to the world, as in all these saber-toothed tigers are like
life is happening to me, not for me.
Life is happening to me, exactly. Then we don't have the reins on our lives. Then we do feel overstretched and we do feel overwhelmed a lot of the time. To know that we can change that. So in the old days, we didn't think that we could change these neurological imprints. Wow. We thought that, what's imprinted by 7 years old, that's how it's going to be. And now we know differently, and we know that the nervous system is so deeply embedded in our physicality. So we've got nerves that move from our body to our brain. The ones that go up are called efferent nerves, the ones that go down are called afferent nerves. 80% of our nerves go from the body to the brain. Only 20% go from the brain down. So in the somatic, psychiatric world, psychological world, in trauma therapy, they started realizing that we need to work through the body to change the nervous system patterns. Wow. And as you've experienced a little bit of it, it's not complicated. No. But it's about putting it into practice every day. Right. And that's what changes the patterning. And we can literally move from a survival way of moving through the world to a place of feeling connected, feeling a state of trust in ourselves. Being able to digest something, take time to feel our way through it and allow that discernment to arrive instead of feeling like we have to have a quick response all the time, that panic age.
And it was surprising to me how simple it is. It really was. And every night I use the techniques you taught me to fall asleep. Yeah. Simple as just feeling my head on the pillow. Yeah. I don't even have to go through the whole thing, but I just take a few of those things that work for me, and it's like amazing the shift that it creates in my body.
It's huge.
It's huge.
So the nervous system's got two choices in every moment. It can either go with a story in your mind, or it can be present in your body in this moment. In this moment, we can look around the room, we can show our nervous system through our eyes that we're safe. There's no saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
We can feel the sensation of our body on the chair. I'm here now, and there's no danger.
Right.
Those kind of somatic tools are life-changing. You can go from anxiety through the roof to feeling safe and therefore grounded and relaxed in 2 seconds just through orientating through the body.
Massive. Yeah.
But it takes consistency. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed listening to part 1 of our chat with the incredible Kheryne Danu. And I hope you all are ready for part 2 coming very, very soon. It is going to be super juicy. We are going to be chatting motherhood, birth, postpartum parenting, and how we are challenging the status quo on all of these topics. It is going to be so good. There's going to be so much wisdom, so many tips as we both share our journeys openly and honestly. So stay tuned for part 2 coming very, very soon. If this podcast meant something to you, we would so appreciate it if you could do these 2 things. Firstly, you can give our podcast a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. This really is the best way to support the podcast and help it to grow. Secondly, you can follow us on Instagram at Chat and Chai. Join our community. We really do share some awesome content on there that I think will hopefully add a lot of value to your life. And we love engaging with our Chat and Chai tribe. So follow us, engage with us, and I am sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Until our next Chat and Chai.